Do you know the year 2003 is observed as the Golden Jubilee year of the double helix? What is double helix? A familiar, much used word among the scientists in present day times. Double helix signifies or represents the shape of a wonder molecule. It's the blueprint of life. Can you guess it? Yes, it is the DNA molecule. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Where is then DNA found in a cell? Let's have an insight into the structure of a cell. Every cell, especially a eukaryotic cell, has a very distinct nucleus. Inside the nucleus are thread-like structures which are intertwined to form the chromatin. When the chromatin unwinds, uncoils, it forms distinct threads called as the chromosomes. Chromosomes bear genes, and these genes are the bearers of hereditary characters, and the genetic material is DNA. That is, once again I repeat, deoxyribonucleic acid. It is interesting to know how this word was coined. It was in the year 1864. A Swiss biochemist by name Friedrich Mischer isolated nucleic acids from the nucleus of pus cells from the bandages that were disposed from the hospitals. The nature of the compound they isolated was acidic, thus the word nucleic acid. Nucleic acids are of two types, DNA and RNA, but DNA plays a predominant role in the transmission of characteristics from the parent to the offspring. Thus, we give priority to the study of the DNA molecule. It was in the year 1953, two young enthusiastic scientists, Waston and Crick, presented to the world the structure of a DNA molecule, and for this they were honored with the Nobel Prize. You must be wondering, how was this structure and what was so fascinating about it? Let me tell you, the DNA molecule is made up of three basic constituents. That is sugar, that is deoxyribose sugar, phosphate, and the nitrogen bases. Shall we make use of a model to understand the structure of a DNA molecule? This stands for the sugar constituent, this one for the phosphate constituent, and these are the nitrogen bases. Let's first begin with the sugar molecule. It's deoxyribose. Deoxyribose means one oxygen atom less than a typical sugar molecule, that's pentose molecule. Now phosphate, it is represented by the formula H3PO4. It is trifunctional. It has three hydroxyl groups. The nitrogen bases make very interesting study. The nitrogen bases are the derivatives of the aromatic benzene ring. They are of two types, purines and pyrimidines. Purines are double ringed. They are bigger in size, and the example of the purine nitrogen bases are guanine and adenine. What about pyrimidines? They have one ring, they are smaller in size, and they are made up of the nitrogen bases cytosine and thymine. You must be interested to know how these are all linked to each other. Let us begin with the term nucleoside. What do you understand by the term nucleoside? Remember, each sugar molecule is linked to a nitrogen base. When sugar is linked to a nitrogen base, we call it as a nucleoside. When does a nucleoside become a nucleotide? When nitrogen sugar linkages are further attached to a phosphate group, we call it as a nucleotide. In fact, remember, nucleotides are monomers of this macromolecule DNA. When a number of nucleotides, like one nucleotide linkage is seen here, there is another nucleotide linkage here. When one nucleotide gets linked to another nucleotide through phosphodiester bonds, we say it is the building of the polynucleotide chain which characterizes a DNA molecule. Now let's remember the model suggested by Waston and Crick said DNA is a double helical structure. Can you see a coiled structure? It is made up of two strands. Both strands are helical. They are intertwined, so it becomes double helical. It is something like a twisted staircase. A staircase with uprights and also the rungs. What forms the upright of the staircase? It is the sugar and the phosphate which form the backbone of the DNA molecule. The rungs, that are the steps of the ladder, are formed by the nitrogen bases. But a very important phenomenon takes place, that is pairing up in the nitrogen bases. It is very specific. We have always the adenine that pairs up with thymine. Can you see an adenine paired up to thymine? And it is held by two hydrogen bonds. And cytosine always pairs up with guanine, and here there is a triple bond, 3 hydrogen bonds. Now, is there a specific sequence in which the nitrogen bases should occur? Not necessary. If it's adenine here, adenine may repeat itself here and then here also. What is important for you to understand is the complementary base pairing has to follow that specific pattern. Adenine should always pair up only with thymine. There can be no combination between adenine and guanine. In the same way, cytosine always pairs up with guanine. If you know the nitrogen bases on one strand of DNA, you can easily write the nitrogen bases on the other strand. It is said that both these strands, when they intertwine, they are anti-parallel. One in the 3', 5' direction, and the other would be in the 5', 3' direction. 5' stands for 5' carbon and 3' stands for 3' carbon. The next important point for you to understand here about the DNA structure is each fold of the DNA molecule may have 10 base pair sequences, and each base pair sequencing is at a distance of about 3.4 angstroms, and each base pair twists by an angle of about 36 degrees, making a total bend of about 360 degrees. There is the Chargaff equivalence rule, which means the quantity of purines is always equal to the quantity of pyrimidines. Purines, you remember which are the purines? It is adenine plus guanine is equal to thymine plus cytosine. Now, what is the length of a DNA strand? It's not fixed. It can vary. Isn't the study of the DNA molecule very interesting? Let me tell you, DNA is not only found in the nucleus of a eukaryotic cell, we have some extra nuclear DNA also found in the mitochondria and the chloroplast. But the basic function of DNA is serving the function of passing on the characters from one generation to another. In short, I can say the function of DNA is, it is a genetic material.